My government name is Charles Ray Hastings Jr. My artist moniker, the projected me, my spiritual name, I guess, or spiritual self, is Solo Monk. I'm an Alabama artist, musician, poet, animator. I make a lot of stuff. I feel about ashamed declaring I'm anything. Used to cringe when people would call themselves artists, but now I work every waking moment at it, so it relieves a little bit of guilt. Up until recently, I always worked a day job: kitchens, bartending, landscaping, carpet installing, copywriter, bitch boy of construction crews, all low wage work and labor. But in 2019, I decided to stop drinking and begin painting. I illustrated and penned and designed merch up until then, but couldn't get a handle on color theory and painting. Honestly, was too poor before then to invest a couple $100s in material to start learning, but it was a combination of the two, really. I was no longer touring in a band, and it had been about 5 years of drinking and being depressed. And I feel that's why I couldn't feel or comprehend colors or how they relate to one another, even when I tried. I was super alienated and just inside a dark room within myself, trying to extinguish my compulsion to create art and music. Though it always came to me, I drew a little bit all the time and still played bar shows once a month or so. It was always hard making money at it, even if I was in a signed band. Being broke and in magazines your friends are stoked on, even with managers helping a bit. People don't respect people who take music and art seriously after 30 and are not making money. So I was doing a little existential woodshedding up until that point. I knew I couldn't be in a band anymore. It's too hard to be creative within a room full of egos, and not like in a bad way egos, but just everybody has a personal ego. You become a jukebox or a campaign or a dysfunctional nightmare that travels the country. It turns out bad if the money isn't coming in. That's where my head had been for a decade. Well, I drank heavy and hated myself from 2014 to 2019, and I had a real moment of clarity, as they call it, in 2019, or at the end of 2018. I have a heart condition, AFib. My first attack happened in 2015. My heart was beating 195 beats per minute for about 3 days straight. Scared me and intensified my depression. It made me too weak to play guitar, and I felt really close to death. At one point, they stopped my heart, and the nurse was holding my hand and was like, "Don't go to sleep. You can't go to sleep. You gotta stay awake." She kept slapping my face, and all I wanted to do was go to sleep. It felt like the natural conclusion to depression. And I repressed those feelings for as long as I could. Deep fear of death and my faulty heart. It took another 4 years to hit clarity and quit binge drinking and smoking cigs. Started taking art as serious as I took my day jobs again. I've been doing Solo Monk since 2014 and playing around with the name and ideas since 2008, but I finally started pushing it in a real way in 2019. I feel asocial, alienated by culture, and very distant. That works for spending a lot of time drawing and painting in a room alone. To do anything well, you have to spend all your time building up the muscle memory. And it mirrored music in that way. A real meritocracy through ritual. And through the action and working at it every day, I absolved my old identity and acquainted myself with my new one, Solo Monk. And I felt like my body and my time and my creative energy were all in one space, and I felt very healed for the first time in my adult life. Though asocial, I was healing myself, I guess, which is sometimes something you have to do, is disconnect and help yourself and fix yourself, work at yourself. Since 2019, I've taught myself animation, painting, color theory, and stacked that on top of my experiences of being in a signed touring band and making records and engineering in a Grammy award-winning studio and all the other small bits of being a musician for 20 years. And melded it with my anti-capitalist ethos and radical kindness. And I got here, and I've painted around 500 paintings, and I've made 20 records as Solo Monk, and I've drawn over 200 animations for those records I've made in short documentaries. Sold a couple hundred paintings, I'm still broke, still working every day, but when I learn and network and up my income is to promote the things I care about, not to climb a vertical relationship with capital or industry. I stay creative because I'm an anti-capitalist, and I stay creative through the daily ritual of creative labor. I'm grateful to be poor and doing what I love. I can speak on the spiritual dispossession of wage slavery because I've survived it. I've survived the death cold of endless labor to pay rising rents and eating more expensive poison every day. I got thousands of friends who are surviving every day in this predatory market of vertical violent relationships. And that's what these new records are about. Labor dispossession, how capitalism has distorted our sense of human value, turning all relationships into transactions, scheduled performance and heavy material repression, how hard it is to love and feel loved in such a weird culture, simulating all our biological and social imperatives through technology. I made around 45 songs for this record cycle. Minimal gear, one mic, Sennheiser E835 for vocals and acoustic guitar. Used my Boss RC300 as the audio interface. Novation bass station for synth parts. Went clean DI with my 94 Mex Telecaster for guitar parts. Used a $100 5-string acoustic guitar, or a 6-string guitar that was missing a string. Everything mixed and mastered in Fruity Loops, low-grade gear into cheap software. Song sketches every day to every day and a half. Writing the lyrics after recording a few chord progressions and groove change ideas. Guitar to click, doing minimal vocal takes, just trying to focus on what the song idea is. What am I trying to say in the lyrics? I don't want to stick to a style. I'm usually going after what the song needs and what's in my range. Like the voice of the lyric needs to match the timbre of the voice, so it's not always about making yourself sound good. Mostly I want to sound honest, and I think it's easier to be honest when thinking about it immediately. The more you editorialize, the more you're trying to build something for your ego. The best songs are discoveries, something you couldn't have imagined writing 10 years ago. You also have to woodshed between recordings so your skills stay sharp enough to make those first golden choices. But if you love it, you're already doing that. There's something that transcends self through the ritual nature of it, keeping everything simple and having enough muscle memory and internalized magic through repetition that you discover things that you've never practiced, limber hands and inspired performances, broken timbres and hypnotic drag. It's the good stuff that makes the grid crawl and groove. And since we all record on a grid now, it seems to be the best way to go about it. Drop the space and let the syncopation pull the listener along. Music is dope no matter how you record it, if the person loves it and has sacrificed some time for the magic they are channeling. It started as 35 years in Alabama Death Cult. It was sitting around bar songs I could add to my gigs, creative tunes but minimal guitar and a voice, minimal overdubs. I even mixed all the vocals onto one track. Not to the point of full mono, but pretending I had 4 tracks to mix with each tune. Things were kind of dark, not intentional, but that's just where I've been the past year of my life. About 20 songs into that writing session, I felt like I needed to write a different experience, like some kind of vibe, or, I felt some other colors that I was kind of ignoring. I was not moving in the wrong direction, but steeping in a bad vibe for too long. I knew it was wrong because it didn't feel cathartic anymore. It felt laborious, being driven by something that didn't have my best interest in mind. A neurotic impulse to steep in a mood or a bad feeling. So I started writing some newer tunes with more free association outlines about ideas I previously had. Not so much about me, but inevitably reflecting my experiences. I was trying to think in colors, not rooted in displaying interesting guitar work or singing in line with one or another genre. Honest palettes of emotion. It took about a month to write 40 songs. I split them into 2 albums, the aforementioned 35 Years in Alabama Death Cult and the newer one, Infinite Love and Solidarity. I think I accomplished what I was shooting for, a full experience of new music that I couldn't have made the previous year. It's the receipt for daily work I do in music, outside of market value as an artist. When you create, rehearse, give space for creative enrichment in your craft, it shows in the work. And that's why I feel comfortable kind of shooting from the hip when it comes to songwriting. 'Cause I've been writing poetry for over 20 years. I've been making music now for close to 20 years. And I don't even have to think about it that much. It just comes. As long as I, make time for it every day. The technical parts don't really matter that much. It's just about getting to muscle memory. Channeling something from my own experiences that's, useful. But doesn't really ever feel like I write the things. They just get written, because I go at it every day. I don't really remember, because it's every day, I don't really remember all of it. I just have a heap of stuff done afterwards, And I kind of sift through it and figure out what I can add to my bar sets or add to whatever shows I have coming up. And joy, it's more than joy. It's pure joy. It's my artistic process, making songs and creating things and playing guitar and doing animations and drawing and building something.